Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Jim Hyde, a board certified family physician and an associate certified coach. And with his extensive uh, work in terms of physician as well as passion for coaching, he works with individuals in challenging life situations, with pastors, doctors, business owners, and those in recovery. We'll learn about science behind imposter syndrome, humility, and meaning in life, and how understanding your mind can help you lead and live better. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Jim. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about mastering the mind, change, and meaning, about all these things. But before that, let's understand a bit about your journey, your background, your story, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Sure. Yeah, I started, I've been a physician for more than 30 years and walking people through all sorts of challenges. Probably the most fun and most coach-like was delivering babies, or as people like to point out, I didn't deliver the babies, the women did. I coached them through it. But I also, I interacted with a lot of middle-aged men who were dissatisfied with their job, but then they were dissatisfied when they retired, and what they really were dissatisfied with, they were dissatisfied with themselves. So that's kind of what motivated me to get into coaching, to help people learn how to figure out what talents they have, how to use those, and how to find meaning.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's understand a bit about your coaching. What is it that you do? What is it that people come to you for, Jim?
Sure. Most of my clients are in that, I guess, midlife, 40 plus. They haven't figured out really where their journey is heading, or they don't like the direction that their journey is heading. And so I use Clifton Strengths a lot and help people realize where their natural gifting is, how to lean into that natural gifting, and then some positive psychology, neuroscience to help them be more effective by being more relational and staying in the game rather than being unregulated.
Absolutely. I saw, that you do a lot of work with pastors, doctors, business owners. Now, most of the, especially pastors, doctors, they help others. Why is it that they are not able to figure out things for themselves? And business owners will understand a bit separately.
Sure. I think that we all have a blind spot in our eyeball. There's a spot where the optic nerve goes back, and there is a blind spot, but we don't notice it because we have two eyeballs. Well, when we're helping others, we can see situations differently. When we're actually in the situation, it's very different. I mean, for example, when I get involved in a conversation that's going nowhere with my wife, I don't realize it. I just keep going. When I see another couple, I hear them in the mall or walking down the street, I know when the guy needs to just be quiet and end the conversation. But when I'm in it, it's harder to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jim. So, in terms of, you say about finding direction. Now, people who know that they have lost direction, they will be. But many times it is difficult to understand, even you are on the, you have lost direction or you are in the right direction. How does one figure out? Means intelligent people are there, they are not able to figure out. What about lesser mortals, a man on the street, simple professional? How do you what do you tell them? How do you tell them? How should people on their own understand about finding right direction?
Yeah, I think, I think a lot of people find themselves on that on the treadmill or the hamster wheel. Um, I think that's a surefire way to know that you've lack direction, because you're running in circles, you're not heading anywhere. So I think oftentimes it's when people realize they're stuck, when they realize they're not moving towards something, then they start asking questions, and they realize often that they're not sure what they want to move towards, and that's the problem. So
Absolutely.
we have to talk about, what do you want to move towards?
Absolutely, Jim. So when you talk about, that your coaching helps people become better version of themselves, does it also mean that it is the same direction that people want to go, or is it that better version of something of myself can also be in not the right direction for me? So initially, I may think I am in a very good version of myself, which we all tend to think, but then realize that it is not what your purpose is, it is not the direction that you want to take.
Right. Yeah, so I think oftentimes we haven't really thought out the directions we want to take. We're just going along assuming we know. And so when I engage people in conversations, they're able to say things out loud, and I can reflect them back. And sometimes they just don't like what they heard, and they think I'm twisting their words. It's like, no, I'm just reflecting back what you just said. And then they're like, yeah, that is what I said. No, that's not what I want to be doing. So I think oftentimes the biggest problem is that we have not sat down and said, where do I want to go? We just go. We just get in our car and drive. We don't have a destination. And so engaging in a conversation is a great way to engaging in a conversation with someone who will listen and reflect back and ask some questions like, okay, what is that, how, if we go out 6 months or a year, what does that look like? Most people don't sit there and think, where do I want to be in 6 months, or a year or 5 years? They just kind of are going for tomorrow or today.
Absolutely, Jim. Let's talk about in your case, means from a family position to more having towards passion towards coaching. How did you determine your direction? Because for you earlier on, studying medicine is also not an easy thing, and then moving into slightly bit different direction. Help us understand that part of your understanding.
Sure. Yeah. I think twofold. One is, like I said, caring for people who obviously they had their health in order. They were seeing me, they were taking care of themselves as far as their physical health, but they didn't have their career, their emotional health in order. And that's something that is harder to address in medicine. And they weren't depressed. They weren't clinically in need of a counselor, but they were in need of some direction, some coaching. And so I started taking some courses, actually, as part of CME conferences. I started taking some coaching courses because they wanted docs coaching, so we could coach our patients, but also so we could coach other docs that are facing burnout. Medicine keeps changing, and it's not the same as when doctors got into it 30 years ago, and they need coaching to kind of figure out, what direction they want to go. Is medicine still what they want? And oftentimes it is. It's just a matter of changing expectations.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jim, if we are using any map on our phone, then if we go a wrong direction, because we know the destination, it always reroutes us to the safest or fastest path. But
Yes.
in life, many a times the destination is not correct, and our map does not have the capacity to tell us to reroute or do whatever it is. It is all upon us to understand everything. Sometimes people think, if I keep on changing directions, people will not take me seriously, especially when you are a professional. Somebody will say, today, last I heard you were doing this, now I hear you are doing this, and you might just lose confidence in yourself. How many times can a person change direction, or should they continue to change direction irrespective of what others think?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question, because you're right. I think that's where you have to take the balance of, okay, well, let's stop changing directions, and let's get your job out of the equation. Let's look at you, because you can't keep changing directions. But if you haven't found the right thing yet, let's stay at the job you're at, plug along there, but let's do some serious work to figure out, who are you, what are you designed to do, and rather than just hopping on the next train that comes by, let's make a plan and get you on the right train, get you on the right path for your vocation. And when I say vocation, I mean, something that feeds your something that uses your talents, uses your passions, fills a need of society, and because we all need to make some money, you can get paid to do.
Right, right, Jim. So, in terms of, when people talk about direction, when people talk about happiness, joy, but they first talk about success. And in that success, the joy, contentment, and everything else perhaps are not very spelled out clearly. How should people understand in terms of, success? Is it time to, relook at the way how we get started rather than, making course correction in middle?
Yes, I think that rather than focusing on success and happiness, looking at joy and contentment, figuring out what you're designed to do, aligning your career with what is your passion and what you are gifted at, and then sticking with it and doing the hard work to find success through that. But those little steps of, initially really finding contentment in who you were made to be, and what your passion is, and find a need that meshes with that.
Absolutely, Jim. So when people come to you, I see you talk about humility. When people come to a coach, they think about, hearing something special. Humility is a very intrinsic human quality. It should be there. How do people react? In that context, is your job easy, difficult in today's time as a coach? Jim.
Yeah, we don't get into and talk about humility unless the client really directs everything. You mentioned that the GPS. The GPS is not in the coach. The GPS is in the client. I'm just feeding information back to the client. They're the one that has to realize, ooh, I'm heading in the wrong direction. And I think that when we think we are better than others, we feel entitled, we are setting ourselves up for either bad relationships or disappointments, or both. And so when we when we seek to give rather than to get, when we seek to hear rather than be heard, that sets us up for success because people will respect that.
Absolutely. So, in terms of a coach in today's time, that is where I ask: is your job easy or difficult in today's time? Because, as you said, you are only showing direction. The GPS is in the client. What is it that these people want? Do they just want to vent out what they are feeling, or do they really want to find direction? Is it your is What are the challenges that you face in many of your clients?
Yeah, there is a lot of venting. So that was one of the things I found with coaching doctors during the pandemic. Some people were coming trying to figure out, what do I need to do to survive medicine in the midst of the pandemic? And some physicians were coming, a lot of physicians seek out coaching as a last ditch effort to not get fired. Those are the ones that want to vent and the system is out to get me, and those are not. There are coaches that really love to work with those particular individuals. That's not me. I want to work with someone who is just excited about seeing what they can learn about themselves. And like you said, I'm not directing the journey. I'm along for the ride, but kind of a navigator of sorts. But I always love when I ask a question and I think we're heading to India, and I ask a question and the client just makes a left turn and goes to the North Pole and climbs, whatever. And then they say, "How did you know I needed to go there?" And I just say, I didn't. I was just listening and reflecting back. You knew you needed to go there. I thought we were going to India, but you went to, the North Pole and then back down to New York because that's where you wanted to go. It's where you needed to go. You just needed me to, let the things rattle around enough to fall into place.
Absolutely. So, in these times, when artificial intelligence is also trying to give solutions, people are reaching out to it, whether they get it or not, that's a different thing. How do you help find meaning to your clients as well as to yourself? Because you have also made that move to find meaning for yourself.
Yes. So AI, everything I hear about AI is that it's very affirming of the person who's using it, and they will, oh, that's a great idea, and blah blah blah. As a coach, I never say it's a great idea. I will ask questions, and sometimes my questions get a little more pointed. If I'm thinking this isn't necessarily a great idea, maybe I need, and you're not asking the hard questions, I'll ask the hard questions. And sometimes I find myself asking a question and the client says, well, that's exactly where I didn't want to go today. And I just go, okay, do we need to go there today? And I'd say 9 out of 10 times the client takes a deep breath, sighs out, and says, yeah, that's where we need to go. So AI is not going to do that. AI is not going to push buttons and push back when you're saying things that your tone and your body says you don't believe. I'm going to say, hey, I'm not impressed. I'm not convinced that you actually believe what you just said because of this, that, and the other. Can you convince me that you actually believe that, or should we try something different? AI is not going to do that.
Absolutely. So perhaps then we have to understand it that we need more people who can ask hard questions of us, including a coach, because nobody else is going to. We are not asking hard questions to ourselves. Nobody else is. People want to get their work done from us and move away. AI is also not asking hard questions. It will try to please you in some way, but will understand it. So is it where is it this whole business of coaching going? Where do you think is it the responsibility of a coach getting bigger, as well as the job of a coach is not going anywhere, even if AI comes in?
Oh, yeah, coaches aren't going to go away, and I think the key is I'm going to ask you some hard questions, and I'm going to be here to. I mean, I'm not going to, I'm going to affirm what I see that's positive, but I'm also going to ask questions when I see something that just doesn't seem to hold water, and then we'll explore what's another way of looking at it, or another way of addressing the issue, and find something that will hold water.
Absolutely. There is much to learn from you, Jim, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more from you, about you, be your client also. What's the best way for them to do so, Jim?
Sure. You can just come to my website, which you can find me at coachjim.com, or you can find me at repurposementllc.com.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.